Ladies and gents, boys and girls, Friday, August the 18th, 2023, TGIF. Hope you are all doing well. Chris Phillips here, your host of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. I see Austin Miller, John Edward, Travie, David Williams, Brendan M., who notes it is high school football game day. Brendan, it is indeed. Let me start by saying best of luck to all of those players, coaches, administrators, what have you, across the great state of South Carolina and really all across the U.S. as well. High school football, Friday night lights, there's truly nothing like it. So if you're going out to a high school football game tonight, enjoy yourself. Excited the season is officially kicking off. And of course, college football kicking off next weekend as we're 8 days away from week 0. We are 15 days away from toe meeting leather in Charlotte, North Carolina, as the Gamecocks begin the 2023 football season. Again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Also, those in the Big Cock Club Discord, head over to the TDC Questions channel, the TDC Questions channel, to be sure that your questions are answered there. Guys, let me also really quickly show this off. I feel like I have to. Shameless plug here. As you can see, we got the new Beamer Ball camo hat on right now with the white front panel. Absolutely love this thing. If you like it, head over to tsus.store. You can check it out there. We've got this one, Beamer Rattler 2023, as well as Clem Sucks. We will have the camo available for all three variants. But, dude, I absolutely love the camo look here. Just switching it up a little bit. Just switching things up just a little bit. But, yeah, you guys check it out, tsus.store and or the SpursUpShow.com. See Youngblood, Mantis in the chat as well, Brewer Nation, Brandon Ward. Again, guys, thank you all so much. And again, best of luck to those. High school football getting going tonight across the state of South Carolina. I'm a proud North Augusta alum. The North Augusta Yellow Jackets, I believe, taking on Evans tonight. Home game at 7:30. Wish I could be there. Unfortunately, we got some things planned tonight. We are a bit busy on this side of things. But either way, I'm wishing the Yellow Jackets well from afar. And again, guys, you're going out to a game this weekend or tonight or what have you. Enjoy yourself and excited that football is officially back. Today's also a special show, guys, because we're going through everything. We are, continuing to go through the position unit preview series. We've got a lot of content to get into, a jam-packed show. But today's show serves as our opportunity, and what we'll do today is put a pin in the offseason. We will officially close the book on the preseason, on the offseason. I understand we've got 15 days to kick off. I totally get that. But, guys, we're only about a week and a half away until game week. And with yours truly going out of town next week, no TDC all week next week, of course, this is the final TDC until game week when South Carolina will face North Carolina. And so today we conclude the position unit preview series. Again, we'll put a pin in the offseason. More on that later in the show. But really excited for today's show. Of course, in our third hour, our Q&A Power Hour. We'd love to hear from you, your questions, your comments, your calls at 843-790-3377. Of course, in our second hour, he'll join us as he does every single Friday. Our good friend Jake Crain of Crain and Company. We'll talk all things Gamecocks, SEC, National College Football, anything and everything in between. Then, of course, in this first hour, like I mentioned, we conclude the position unit preview series. Guys, time flies when you're having fun. We've been doing this, the last 4 weeks or so? 3 or 4 weeks we've been doing this. From the, official predictions we locked in early July to the opponent preview series to now the position unit preview series. It's been a fun offseason, and we're going to close it in style today. Again, I see Peyton Smith, Mark Powell, Roman Paget, see Youngblood again, Mantis. Appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much for the love and support. Roman says left Oklahoma at 2 p.m. yesterday, but just made it back to the low country just in time for TDC. Hey, Roman, I appreciate you jumping in, man. Thank you so much again for the love, for the support. Really excited, guys. It's an exciting time. Football is in the air. You can even sense it with the weather, right? It cooled off a little bit over the last week, and it's like you can feel it like, okay, football is approaching. We're getting close to football. Football is almost here. Again, guys, let me remind you one more time, just in case you missed this. There will be no TDC all week next week because yours truly, we are departing on Sunday. I will be going to the great state of Montana. Going to be enjoying some R&R, enjoying some time there, taking in the sights, taking in the scenes. So no TDC, obviously. I'll be gone from Sunday until Saturday. One kind of final break, if you will. One kind of final reset, detachment before we get into the grind of the actual season. With that being said, while there is no TDC, the podcast, there will be a podcast that drops every single day of next week. We've got special guest interviews with folks like SEC Mike of that SEC podcast, Chris Doring of SEC Network, my guy Dave Shoemate of Mach 10 Sports, my guy Ty Richardson of ESPN Arkansas, and finally Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Preview. So we've got a lot of valuable content, a lot of great content coming you guys' way via the podcast. But, of course, there will be no TDC next week. So, as I mentioned previously, this is the final TDC until the Monday of game week when South Carolina will take on North Carolina. Going to be a lot of fun. Guys, that being said, like I mentioned, we got one final position group to go here in the position unit preview series, and I figured, why not save the best for last, right? We're talking kickers and punters. Beamer ball to the moon at South Carolina as we go into year 3 of the Shane Beamer era. Top storylines, the Gamecocks kickers and punters entering the 2023 season. And guys, when you talk about special teams in Columbia, you know, it's so interesting. We've done these SEC team previews and these opponent previews, and you guys probably noticed that every single person that I talked to, we did a full breakdown. Offense, defense, and yes, special teams. And the amount of folks that I talked to that would kind of scoff or laugh or kind of, shrug off like, why are we talking special teams? Who really cares? It's so interesting to see the difference in thinking between some other schools, some other teams, and South Carolina, because the role that special teams has played, the impact of Beamer ball through 2 seasons and going into year 3 of Shane Beamer, the impact that special teams has had. At some other schools, special teams is just sort of looked at as, hey, just don't do anything to lose the ball game. At South Carolina, it's looked at as, this is another way we can win the ball game. This is a facet of the game that's just as important as offense and defense. And South Carolina has fully embraced that. And you look over Beamer's first 2 seasons, it has absolutely played an instrumental part in South Carolina overachieving his first 2 years in Columbia. I mean, you think of all the blocked punts, the block kicks, the fakes by Kai Kroger and Mitch Jeter, the 2-point conversions, the punting game of Kai Kroger, the kicking game, the field goal game of Mitch Jeter. And it's just so interesting because I went into last year saying this also of, can South Carolina really keep that up? Can you really depend on special teams to win you ball games week after week after week? Because you look at the numbers, you look at the computers, and they hate South Carolina. Why do they hate the Gamecocks, guys? It's because South Carolina has found unconventional ways to win. All you need to do in football to win a game is win 2 of the 3 facets: offense, defense, and special teams. You win 2 of the 3 facets. It's not a guarantee, right? Like, it's not a guarantee that if you win the special teams facet, you'll win the ball game. But you know what it does, guys? When you're able to steal that facet, it makes your path to victory a whole heck of a lot easier. Go look at the statistics of when a team blocks a punt, when a team blocks a kick, when a team scores a special teams touchdown. The numbers are outrageous in regards to the way it favors that team. I believe when a team blocks a punt or a field goal, The team that does that, they win that game almost, I think over 80% of the time is the number. And for a team like South Carolina, that maybe you look offensively, defensively, there's some shortcomings, there's some deficiencies there. Special teams is an area that you can embrace, and they have embraced, that you can steal that facet of the game and you can pull an upset or two. You can win some games maybe that you're not supposed to. Guys, look at last year. I mean, we could start from game one. South Carolina comes out of the gate sluggish, did not play their best against Georgia State in the season opener. And I know the Gamecocks won that game by 21 points, but that was thanks to a pair of blocked punts. I mean, South Carolina doesn't make those plays in special teams. That might be a one-score game in the fourth quarter, and guys, at that point, who knows? You look at the way the season ended. The Clemson game. I mean, it goes without saying the impact of special teams in that ball game. What Kai Kroger did, pinning Clemson deep, South Carolina getting the fumble recovery on the kickoff, Antonio Williams fumbles the punt. I mean, that game was all about special teams. Yes, Spencer Rattler and company balled out. Defense made big plays. But without special teams in that one, you absolutely 110% do not win that ball game. You look at the Texas A&M game. I didn't even mention the return game because we're focusing mainly on kickers and punters here. But, I mean, we're talking special teams as a whole. Beamer ball is special teams. Xavier Leggette's kickoff return. Guys, you go back and you look at the numbers in that Texas A&M game. Texas A&M somewhat dominated that game statistically. But South Carolina able to win the special teams facet of the ball game, and guess what? Won a game that maybe it wasn't supposed to. Was able to steal a game that maybe folks weren't expecting them to. And so it's been fascinating through 2 seasons to see the impact of Beamer ball to the moon, and what Pete Lembo has done and the job that they've all done together, making this special teams group the best in all of college football. I recall, guys, it was around this time 2 years ago, going into year 1 of the Shane Beamer era, and I felt confident in saying, if nothing else, this is going to be the most well-coached special teams unit in all of college football, because you look at Pete Lembo's track record. The fact that Ball State let him get away is outrageous, right? You look at Shane Beamer, and of course, need I say more? The Beamer name carries that cachet from what his father did at Virginia Tech. And it's interesting how, as these years go by and the Shane Beamer era continues to evolve and grow, and it looks more and more like his father's Virginia Tech program than maybe we ever thought it even would. It's fascinating to watch, really, truly, because you look back at those Virginia Tech teams, they were lunch pail teams, guys. They weren't flashy offensively or defensively or did anything crazy, but they ran the ball, they played good defense, and they won on special teams. Sound familiar? That's what South Carolina is trending towards. They got to get the running game figured out, stopping the run. But, I mean, the special teams facet specifically, Shane Beamer is crafting this thing nearly identically to what his father did at Va-Tech. Now, the question is, can you do it a third straight season? Can you bank on special teams to be a consistent factor for you in winning football games? But at this point, if you're doubting them, if you're doubting Shane Beamer and Pete Lembo and what they can do in the special teams department, especially when you look at what we're about to get into in a second, who you have returning, doubt them at your own risk, because Shane Beamer and Lembo have proven time and time again, special teams is a facet that is here to stay. It's a facet that South Carolina is going to win. And if you don't account for it, just the same as you do for offense and defense, speaking to opposing coaches and programs, if you don't account for it, South Carolina will make you pay. Now, as we look at what the Gamecocks return, Mitch Jeter looking to remain perfect on his career in field goals, went a perfect 11 for 11 last year. Is it fair to expect him to stay perfect? I don't think it is. Guys, he's human, right? We're all human. At some point, he's more than likely going to miss a field goal. I don't know when it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But the odds say, the numbers say it's probably going to happen. Either way, you think back to last year, how big of a story that was, guys. That was one of the more impressive things that went under the radar because he's a kicker, and I know kickers and punters, they don't get the love, right? It's not as fun to talk about, but, I mean, Mitch Jeter replaced Parker White, the school's all-time points leader. That's a lot of pressure for a guy, right? And all he does is go 11 for 11, has a long of 53, and was extremely consistent for South Carolina. Absolutely no issues in the kicking game. Can he remain perfect? Can he continue to be a weapon? And Mitch Jeter's a guy that, for a South Carolina team that as you continue to improve, as this program continues to progress, hey, this season might come down to a couple of 50-50 games. We talk about the swing games, and this season might come down to a couple close ball games where you're relying on your field goal kicker to hit one, or you're relying on those points that you get to lead to victory. South Carolina needs Mitch Jeter to continue to be consistent. Doesn't have to be perfect. That would be a bonus. But continuing to see that consistency from Mitch Jeter, and I think South Carolina is in really good hands in the kicking department. Speaking of being in good hands, guys, I don't know what it is about South Carolina, but the run of punters lately, with Kai Kroger arguably being the best of the group, he looks to continue to be a weapon for South Carolina. Hey, not just punting the football, as we all know, but in the fake game as well, what he can do there. But you look at last year, guys, 46.1 yards per punt. He has the second best career mark in school history when it comes to punting yards average. He sits right now at 44.2 yards per punt. The all-time leader, by the way, Joseph Charlton at 45.5 yards per punt. Pretty damn good with himself. He's still doing it in the NFL. Big question here for Kai Kroger is, and something out of his control. Does Kai Kroger finally get the recognition that he deserves from Ray Guy? Does the Ray Guy Award finally get their heads out of their asses and give this man the award? Because not only was he lethal in the punting game, not only was he lethal in that regard, not only is he one of college football's best holders, guys, he's a perfect 6 for 6 passing the football. He threw 3 touchdowns last year. What more can he do? I mean, what more can Kai Kroger do to win that award? Either way, Kai Kroger, a weapon for South Carolina. Like I mentioned previously, it's not the flashiest thing or the sexiest thing to talk about a punter and what they do in that facet, but you guys saw the Clemson game. You guys have watched South Carolina football over the last couple of years. If you're not paying attention to what the punter's doing, you're missing out. And finally, guys, on that note, when I look at storylines for this group, for the kickers and the punters specifically, it sort of goes back to my first point about Beamer Ball. How much more trickery do we see from Pete Limbo's group this fall? Because, again, Pete Limbo, Shane Beamer, they've done a fantastic job, and it just seems they always seem to push the right buttons. Like, very rarely. Think about this, guys. How astonishing is this? And how rare is this, I should say? That has it felt like over the past 2 years that South Carolina's called a fake or ran a trick play in special teams that just did not make sense? Like, I can't think of any situations where I'm sitting there saying, why would you do that? Why would you run the fake punt? Why would you run this fake field goal? Why would you go for that 2-point conversion? There really haven't been any of those moments. Now, I guess if maybe some of the conversions had been failed, then maybe we're having a different conversation. But I mean, it just feels like every time they roll the dice in special teams, They are very good at identifying the moment, the time to call those fakes, the time to call those different plays, the time to go to trickery, if you will. And I think that's one of the reasons why it always seems to work for them. It just always does. I mean, there have been very few failed special team attempts, if you will. So how much more trickery do we see? You know, it's one of those things you don't want to get over aggressive with it, right? You don't want to overdo it, obviously. But I fully expect South Carolina, I mean, heck, maybe in week one against North Carolina, you know that Pete Limbo, Shane Beamer, that entire crew, they're scheming up, they're getting things. They're, you know, while offense is installing, defense is installing, you can bet that Beamer and Limbo are installing, as they'll look once again to make special teams a weapon for South Carolina in year 3 of Beamer ball. Guys, let's jump into a quick break. On the other side, we'll keep the conversation rolling here on this Friday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge, where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also sponsored by Rhine Law Firm, LLC, principally managed by James R. Rhine Jr., located at 1350 Ashley River Road, Suite 650, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407, serving the greater Charleston area.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Friday, August the 18th, 2023. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in as we keep the conversation rolling. We wrap up the position unit preview series. Crazy to think it's already over and we're putting a pin in this offseason, but that's exactly what we are doing. Guys, I mentioned this before. No most approved or best overall when it comes to kickers and punters. I just felt like, most approved, who is it? Is it Jeter? Is it Kroger? I don't know. The best overall, you could name both of them that. So I didn't feel like there was really a whole lot of point, a whole lot to talking about that. So with that being said, we're going to keep it moving. What will define success for the Gamecocks kickers and punters in the 2023 football season? I think there's a couple of things that we want to see, we want to continue seeing from these specialists. And I start with Mitch Jeter, the place kicker. Simply just continuing to be consistent in the field goal game. When you go 11 for 11 the year prior, when you're literally perfect on the year, it's kind of hard to look at his game and say, well, you need to get better at that or get better at this. And I'm sure, obviously, there's things he's working on behind closed doors that he'd like to improve on from a season ago, but just continue to be consistent. I'm not sitting here saying Mitch Jeter needs to be perfect or, flawless or what have you, because at some point, guys, more than likely, as I mentioned, he's going to miss a kick. But for a South Carolina football team that, especially maybe early on, maybe there is some sort of adjustment offensively. I know Spencer Rattler says, there's no growing pains for him, what have you. But, for this offense as a whole, you do have a brand new offensive coordinator. And there may be some adjustment period where it takes you 3 or 4 games. You get your feet wet and, kind of get your feet under you as an offense. You need to be able to take advantage of any and every opportunity to get points. I know field goals aren't the most appealing thing in the world, but if you can add 3, 4 times, boom, that's the difference in winning and losing a ball game. So, Mitch Jeter, continuing to be able to rely on him. He doesn't have to be perfect as long as he's still consistent in the field goal game. Also, the place kicking game, the kickoff specialist game, if you will. He was really good there a season ago also, but just continuing to be consistent. That's it. Does not have to be perfect, but be consistent. You do that, it will spell a successful season undoubtedly for Mitch Jeter. I would expect more of the same from a season ago for him. You then look at Kai Kroger in the punting game. And as long as Kai Kroger stays healthy, guys, it's a successful season because this guy is definitely one of the best punters in all of college football, if not the best. But for him, it's just about continuing to serve as a dynamic weapon for South Carolina. I think there are a couple of numbers statistically that, and I'm sure he already has these goals, if not even loftier goals set out for himself. But there are a couple of numbers I look at that I think, okay, hit these numbers and this is a successful season for you. First off, 45 or more yards per punt this season. As I mentioned previously, he was at 46.1 yards per punt a season ago. That was his career best. Before that, it hovered around 43 or 44 yards per punt. I think anything above 45 yards per punt is really, really solid and will probably be one of the top marks in all of college football. Something else for Kai Kroger, guys. Last season, Kai Kroger's inside the 20 rate. So the amount of punts that were downed inside the 20 that he hit was 50%. I'm looking at that number again, 50% or better in 2023 for his inside the 20 rate. And I think that would be a massive success. I think he's more than capable of that. A lot of that has to do, guys, of course, with Where is he punting from? Positioning on the field. So there are some factors that Kai Kroger can't necessarily control. But he was at 50% last year. I think 50% or greater inside the 20, I think will spell success. And as I mentioned, guys, Kai Kroger just continuing to be that dynamic punter yet again. And that goes beyond just kicking the football. That goes the fake game, the entire special teams game, if you will. But Kai Kroger just continuing to be one of the best punters in all of college football. Guys, he stays healthy, which I don't think there's any issue there. That's going to almost certainly be the case. And finally, guys, when you look at success for Pete Limbo's group, for the kickers, the punters, Beamer ball as a whole, it's about the role that it plays in winning games for South Carolina. It's about the role that it plays in South Carolina's success, continuing to steal games for the Gamecocks. And I don't say that, by the way, guys, disrespectfully, like, oh my God, this is a 3-win team. They need special teams to go win every single game. I'm not saying that's what special teams has done, but you obviously cannot deny the fact that special teams has been a huge part of the recipe of what South Carolina has done over Shane Beamer's first 2 seasons. I mean, there are multiple examples of it where a team like South Carolina that has some shortcomings, they have some deficiencies, what have you, or maybe you just go into a game, guys, and for whatever reason, you're flat on offense or you're not very good on defense. Having special teams there to pick you up, to give you a boost, to provide momentum, right? I mean, it's huge. It's just absolutely huge. And so we look at this 2023 season, question marks all over the field for South Carolina. A more difficult schedule. The over-under 6.5 in Vegas. A lot of folks out there nationally picking the Gamecocks to go 6-6 or 7-5. If South Carolina is going to overachieve again, if they're going to get back to 8 wins or more, special teams, in my opinion, will undoubtedly have to win them a game or two. Undoubtedly. The Gamecocks must continue to find unconventional ways to win, a.k.a. Beamer ball to the moon, a.k.a. Pete Limbo being a mad scientist. Because there are still a lot of ball games that South Carolina, you look on paper, maybe you don't stack up talent-wise. Maybe in the trenches you don't quite stack up. Maybe there's some bad matchups, or again, your deficiencies will be exposed. It's up to Shane Beamer, Pete Limbo, that staff, to make special teams a facet in which South Carolina can steal once again and thus can lead to overachieving for a 3rd straight season. Guys, that being said, we're going to jump into another break here on this Friday. Keep your questions, your comments, all that good stuff coming. We'll get into all of those in hour number 3 in our Q&A Power Hour. In the meantime, we'll jump into this break. We'll keep the conversation rolling on the other side. You're tuned in to The Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar Lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars. And there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. Daily Crow is also sponsored by Rhine Law Firm, LLC, principally managed by James R. Rhine Jr., located at 1350 Ashley River Road, Suite 650, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407, serving the greater Charleston area.
Muscle Dougie Ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Friday, August the 18th, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Continue to flood the chat as we'll take your questions, your comments, and your calls. And our Q&A Power Hour in hour number 3. Let's see. Let's see. Slap Dickory at an all-time high in the Big Cock Club Discord, which unfortunately is nothing new. Okay, anyways, we'll get into all that and more. I'm just reading through some of the comments, so sometimes those guys can distract me a little bit. Anyways, guys, we're continuing on with our content. Do not forget, we got our good friend Jake Crain of Crain & Company upcoming at 1:15. Very excited to chat with him. In the meantime, though, we close the book on kickers and punters, and thus the position unit preview series as I hand out my official grade for the Gamecocks kickers and punters entering the 2023 football season. Beamer ball to the moon. That is the mantra in Columbia, South Carolina. The way that this program has embraced special teams. You heard Kai Kroger talk about it at SEC Media Days. When he mentioned that when he first got on campus, which was the final year of the Will Muschamp era, guys maybe weren't really all that interested in being on special teams and playing special teams and making contributions in that way. Kroger then pointed out that now, not only are those guys playing special teams, they're excited to do so. Culture has a lot to do with the success of this group, really, truly. When you think about the buy-in that it takes, I really look at special teams. It's a want-to thing, man. It's really, truly a want-to thing. A lot of it's an effort thing. And so if you have guys who are disinterested and, your best players like, I'm too good for special teams. I mean, we hear it all the time in the NFL. If you're trying to make a 53-man roster and you're the 7th or 8th wide receiver or you're on the fringe, go make a play on special teams. There's always room for an elite returner. Hey, there's always room for a great field goal kicker. There's always room for a really good punter. Those guys, you don't think about those guys. They're not that important until they lose you a ball game. Nobody talks about special teams until it costs you. Until you have a high snap, until you shank a punt, until you miss a field goal. Nobody talks about it till that point. The way South Carolina has been able to use it to its advantage has been so incredible to watch. You start with Mitch Jeter. And again, we don't give enough credit to what Mitch Jeter did last season. Filling in the shoes, the departed Parker White, your school's all-time points leader. And all he doesn't just have a good year. He went perfect. A perfect 11 for 11. I don't know why this guy's not more recognized as one of the best, if not the best kicker in the SEC. I see a lot of preseason all-SEC lists, and very rarely do I see Mitch Jeter's name being mentioned. And then there's Kai Kroger and what he does. I mean, it's one of those funny things too, right, guys, where ideally, and this is all due respect to Kai, but ideally we don't see Kai Kroger a lot this year because that means the offense is scoring every drive. The offense is scoring a bunch of touchdowns. But inevitably, this is football. You're going to have to, at some point, punt the ball. What Kai Kroger has done, what he's meant to South Carolina's success, not just punting the football, the deadly accuracy. That Clemson game, that was a work of art last year. I mean, really, truly, when you look at that, that was a work of freaking art, what he did. Dude was out there hitting 60-degree wedges, man, spinning the ball back. I mean, it was magical to watch, really, truly. And so you watch him kick and you watch him punt on a week-in, week-out basis. You factor in the fake game. I mean, 3 touchdown passes, guys, a perfect 6 for 6. We all make the jokes, of course, the QB1 jokes and the Keisman jokes, which I know some of you are not joking. Keisman's a real thing. But to have that at your disposal, what it's meant for South Carolina, finding ways to win, stealing the special teams facet of the game. I would be foolish to not recognize the greatness of this group. I'm a very critical grader, as you all know. I'm very honest. I'm very brutally honest. I don't sugarcoat it. I'm not boosting the grade up because I'm a Gamecock. I'm not boosting the grade because, I'm not looking at anything through a shaded lens at all. But there is absolutely no doubt that this group is an A+. I mean, this group has earned that. There's none better. There's no better kicker-punter duo in, I would say, the entire country, not just the SEC. Show me a better kicker-punter duo. I know Texas A&M's got a damn good punter. Show me a kicker-punter duo, though, better than this one. I will wait. Because you can't do it. You can't do it. You've got a kicker who was perfect last year. You've got a punter who has a bomb for a right leg. And not only that, but he throws touchdown passes. What other punter in the country does more than what Kai Kruger does? And if the Ray Guy Award, if they can't figure that out, it's a damn shame. Shame on them. And that award should just be completely blown up, discredited, ignored, nothing. The Ray Guy Award means nothing if Kai Kruger does not win it this year. Means nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's despicable he didn't win it last year. It's flat out a disgrace Kai Kruger didn't win the award. He doesn't need the accolades and the recognition, but it's just a damn shame that the best punter in college football, and it's not even close, doesn't get recognized in that manner. Either way, guys, it's a no-brainer. The punter-kicker duo, this position group, if you will, just like special teams, it's an A+. It's a strength for South Carolina. It's a weapon for South Carolina, while some schools look at special teams as, whatever. Just don't lose a ball game. If we're not – see, a lot of schools look at it this way. If we're not talking about special teams, that's a positive. Because it means that special teams isn't losing games. We don't need them to win games. Just don't lose games. At South Carolina, because of Shane Beamer, because of Pete Limbo, that philosophy is completely different. It's viewed as, hey, like we go into week 1 against UNC, going to every game this year. What's special teams going to do? What's Beamer ball going to do? Beamer ball to the moon. How's that factor in? Is it going to win South Carolina the game this week? When you go into a game like a Georgia, or you go into a game like a Tennessee where you'll be the underdog, or you go into a game like Texas A&M on the road, or even the Clemson game. You think special teams won't be a talking point going into the rivalry matchup this year? You best believe that's going to be something we and many others spend tons of time on this season. An A+ grade for the kickers and punters. And once again, it's Beamer ball to the moon in Columbia, South Carolina this season. Guys, that concludes the position unit preview series. It's wild to say that because we've been doing this for so long, but that's it. We've broken down this entire Gamecocks football team. Every single position unit, offense, defense, and now specialists. And I, for one, cannot wait until kickoff. Guys, let's jump into one more break. On the other side, we'll put a pin in the offseason. We're going to have some fun. Then we'll get Jake Crain on for our weekly conversation. Cannot wait to talk with Jake, get his thoughts on Gamecocks, SEC, everything in between here on this Friday. You're tuned in to The Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. Daily Crow is also sponsored by Rhine Law Firm, LLC, principally managed by James R. Rhine Jr., located at 1350 Ashley River Road, Suite 650, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407, serving the greater Charleston area.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, I'm back here on this Friday, August the 18th, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Thank you all so much again for the continued love and support, whether it be on the podcast, social media, TDC, and or the merchandise side of the business. Just to give you all an update, by the way, for those of you who have ordered merch, we're right now about 5 days from the time of ordering to fulfillment and shipment. So if you have placed an order, do not fret. Let me also, though, remind you, Sunday, this Sunday, August the 20th, is the final day that you can purchase merch, and there will be guaranteed by kickoff delivery. So if you purchase it Monday, for example, you may get it before kickoff. It depends on the product, depends on stock, depends on inventory, what have you. You may very well get it. But if you want it guaranteed that you will get your merchandise by the North Carolina game, okay, which I would also say means if you want merchandise guaranteed by the Furman game, the season opener, Sunday, August 27th would be the final day for that game. So just give yourself what? Give yourself 13 days. Yeah, 13 days before a game. That's how much time you have to guarantee that you're going to get it by kickoff. So Sunday, August the 20th, that's the final order date to guarantee by kickoff delivery. Guys, I figure for the next, we've got about 18 minutes or so until Jake Crain joins the show, and excited to talk with Jake and talk all things college football. You know, I figured for the next 13 minutes or so, I'd give sort of my parting thoughts just on the offseason and putting a pin in the offseason. And this is just sort of a random thing. Don't really have any notes written down or anything specifically I want to discuss. Just, final thoughts on the offseason as a whole. Because the next time you and I chat, guys, we're putting all the offseason stuff behind us. We are getting into South Carolina, North Carolina, because, of course, no TDC next week, right? All week long. And we'll have the podcast dropping, specific guest interviews, what have you. But in regards to the Daily Crow and really the podcast as a whole, the preseason, the offseason has come to an end, which I'm giddy to say, because I am so ready to start talking about actual games, action taking place on the field. I cannot wait to dive into the details and start predicting actual games and talking about matchups, stuff like that. So as we close out the offseason, as we put a pin on talking season, and we now turn our attention to year 3 of the Shane Beamer era. It's crazy how time flies, man. It feels like just yesterday we started the countdown, 100 days until kickoff. Now we find ourselves just 2 weeks away until toe meets leather in Charlotte. And really, guys, again, as soon as we get to Monday, as soon as we get to that Monday of game week, I should say, it's on, right? The offseason is over. And again, for yours truly, taking a trip, the offseason ends today for me. And what an offseason it's been, man. From, closing out a season, 2022, beating Tennessee and Clemson, to the bowl game against Notre Dame, which, although you lost, a fantastic game. The announcements of Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells returning. I'll never forget where I was. We were in Hilton Head for a couple of days and rocking the live show there. I remember sitting in that chair, in that cigar lounge at Hilton Head, saying to myself and saying to you all that, hey, South Carolina just went from fringe bowl team to a sleeper in the SEC East. And what an interesting offseason, the way that the hype train sort of evolved for South Carolina. Personally, this is what I feel. Immediately following the end of 2022, there was extreme hype, extreme optimism. I mean, guys, you remember my way too early predictions back in January. I picked the Gamecocks to go 9-3. And the additions of, the returns of Juice Wells and Spencer Rattler certainly sparked that. It was fascinating to watch as the offseason progressed and the offseason went on. The hype train somewhat sort of lose steam for South Carolina. And I think I think the reason for that, guys, was severe roster turnover. Now, listen, I'm not telling you that the guys South Carolina picked up out of the portal aren't going to be fantastic players. But from the national perspective and even the conference-wide perspective, and when I say that, what I mean is those who talk about this thing that maybe they're not familiar with who the third string left tackle is on that football team, right? They don't know it the way you and I do. They don't know South Carolina in that manner. They look at Gamecocks football, and this is what they see. South Carolina lost Marshawn Lloyd. They lost Jaheim Bell. They lost Jordan Birch. They lost Gilbert Edmond. They lost 4 SEC starters off their roster. 4 names, 4 notable guys that you look at, transfer portal rankings and specific individual player rankings out of the portal. You're going to find a lot of those guys. And so for what South Carolina lost, I don't know that they picked up names that quite have the same cachet as those that departed. Does that mean anything in regards to the success or lack of success or immense success these guys will have? Not necessarily. I'm just giving you that vantage point and that perspective. But so I think that the hype train somewhat lost steam for South Carolina because of that roster turnover. Because of the Gamecocks not picking up a running back when most thought they would do so. Because of the Gamecocks not really picking up any, let's just say, Power 5 offensive linemen. Yeah, transfers from Yale, transfer from Charlotte, transfer from Mercer, transfer from Western Illinois, but no Power 5 guys. Picking up just one player at the edge spot in Jatius Gear, which was a really nice pickup, by the way. Not really adding a whole lot outside of that on the defensive side. Jerron Willis is a name that, I don't know, folks just kind of gloss over. And then us also learning, listening to Shane Beamer, just how young this football team is going to be. That they're going to rely on freshmen at every single position. You couple all of that with questions still about Spencer Rattler and a new offensive coordinator and questionable lines of scrimmage on both sides. The hype train inevitably lost steam this offseason. And also, it didn't help that other teams gained steam. I think Kentucky's a team that was a winner of the offseason, gained hype. I think that Missouri was a winner of the offseason, gained a lot of hype. You look at the West, I think, a team like Arkansas was a winner in the offseason. Ole Miss, Auburn, certainly a winner. Does it mean anything? You don't win games during talking season. So I'm not telling you all that means anything at all, because as I sit here right now and I close the book on the offseason, I even find myself beginning to buy in a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more every single day. I do not lose sight of the deficiencies. I do not lose sight of the question marks. But it's almost like one of those things as we get closer to toe meeting leather. We get so lost, I think, during the offseason with numbers and FPI and Kelly Ford ratings and the computers and this statistic, that statistic, what have you. And those things are great to have because they give us context and some sort of explanation for what happens each and every single Saturday. But as we get closer to kickoff, guys, what stands out to me, the fact of the matter is this. South Carolina has found ways to win football games under Shane Beamer. At the end of the day, we can get lost in numbers, we can get lost in stats, but the most important stat, when it's all said and done, is the scoreboard. Do you have more points than the other team? And while, maybe it's been unconventional, maybe it's been ugly at times, guys, South Carolina has just found ways to win ball games. And so that's where I think my optimism comes in. I've picked 7-4, 4-4 in SEC play. I'm not budging off of those predictions. But it does give me hope and optimism as we get closer and I sit there and I think, we're going to get to game day. We're going to get to kickoff. And all those numbers we talked about during the offseason, they're not really going to matter. They're not really going to mean a whole lot. They're not. Because at the end of the day, whichever team goes out there, makes the most plays and executes the best and wins the turnover battle and takes advantage of opportunities, that team's going to win. And so it's this cycle of you have the end of season where you had a great year and you're on top of the mountain. Then slowly, I think the realities kind of start to settle in. Okay, these question marks, that question mark, here's what we have to deal with. The warts of the football team become very obvious. And now we're back at a point where as like we get closer, I just find myself personally, listen, I'm not telling you guys I'm talking to myself into 10 wins or anything outrageous, but the hype and the excitement level and the optimism sort of go hand in hand. And you start thinking about what Shane Beamer's done through 2 seasons, the way he just shattered the expectations at every turn. Expect the unexpected. That's been South Carolina football. And while it's been very frustrating at times, the consistency or lack thereof, it's also led to some pretty incredible results at times. Some pretty incredible wins at times. And so I'm giddy, guys. I'm giddy to get into game week. I'm giddy to start talking about another team, a team that South Carolina is going to play. I'm giddy about game week content that we've got lined up. We're adding some new things. We're also going to be talking more SEC ball than we ever have. And so as I've mentioned before, guys, one of my favorite pieces I've ever written, probably my favorite ever written piece that I've ever done. It's called Hope Springs Eternal. And it's an article about the offseason, the beauty of the offseason, the beauty of talking season, and why it's such a special time that should not be rushed. It's not better than the regular season. It's not better than in season. But there's something special about the summertime and still being at a point where your dreams are allowed to run wild. Because as we all know, you get in season and you get into SEC play and realities become reality very quickly in this league. And maybe some of those hopes and those dreams and those expectations, for some, especially those who set their hopes and dreams way too high, they get shattered. And they get shattered quickly. And so as we put a pin in it, guys, hope springs eternal in the offseason, most definitely. But I am so happy to say that it has come to an end. And now we turn our attention. And the next time you guys hear from me on the Daily Crow and the podcast, we'll be breaking down South Carolina, North Carolina in Charlotte as year 3 of the Shane Beamer era begins. Guys, we will jump into one more break to set the scene for our conversation with our good friend, Jake Crain of Crain and Company. Can't wait to chat with him, guys. Appreciate you all tuning in. Jake Crain and Company, that convo and more is on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. Daily Crow is also sponsored by Rhine Law Firm, LLC, principally managed by James R. Rhine Jr., located at 1350 Ashley River Road, Suite 650, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407, serving the greater Charleston area.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Friday, August the 18th, 2023, as we sit just 15 days away from South Carolina kickoff. Just 8 days away, guys, single digits until week 0 and a full slate of games. And at that point, guys, we get into game week and we are on like Donkey Kong until the end of the season. Austin Gregory asked, when are you releasing your week 0 bets? Austin, that is a very, very good question because that will be a weekly segment in which we're going to have our prize picks plays of the week, as well as you guys, if you did not know, we'll start running these ads next week. MyBookie has joined TSUS as an official sponsor of the show for the next calendar year. So every single week, we're going to have our gambling picks. In previous years, I've done SEC gambling picks where I just kind of picked every single game just to do so. We will not be doing that in that format because obviously there's just some games, some plays that don't make any sense or there's not a lot of value. So I'll probably have, I don't know, something like 5 to 6 plays every single weekend, and I'll drop those on, I think we're going to say Tuesdays is when we'll get those bets in. No later than Wednesday, obviously, because we have all the Thursday action and what have you. And really excited for the gambling content. We're making gambling content a bigger part of our content in season than it's ever been. Somebody who knows a thing or two about gambling and loves talking ball, our friend Jake Crain of Crain & Company, who joins us every single Friday. He's in. Jake, what's going on, man? Appreciate you. Are you ready to lose some money this college football season?
Man, well, it's funny. It's the only time where I make money gambling. I'm so sick of gambling on baseball and NFL preseason already. Let's get some college football in here. I'm trying to get my collar right, man. I'm rocking my new Titans.
That looks good.
Pullover.
That looks really good.
Man,
yeah, I like that.
With my Oilers ones, everything's backwards in the mirror. I look like I'm on one of those Lemony Snicket episodes. But no, man, I'm sick of betting everything but college football. Let's get it here. 8 sleeps. 8 sleeps until we kick this bad boy off. And me personally, I'm super jacked to 10 about it.
Yeah, Jake, I was going to say I made a little bit of fun, but you guys do pretty well in the college football season, I recall. I know you're dropping your bets constantly, but give the folks an idea. I might have to start playing some of your plays this year because, again, I'm diving into gambling more than I ever have in the past couple of seasons.
Look, at some point, I'm waiting for people in suits to show up at my house with guns and start asking questions. Look, it's again, we all we all have our bag, right? Well, we all have kind of what, and I'm totally jinxing myself. I'll lose everything this year. But college football, man, we have our pulse on it pretty good. Hardest week to bet is week 1. I consider week 0, week 1. I don't want to get into that semantics battle again. It does nothing but piss me off. But it's like, that argument to me is like what my father used to do on the grill. He used to call it the starvation technique. He used to say, hey, we're going to eat at 6. And then he'd serve everybody at 7. And by that time, everybody's so hungry that the food tastes twice as good. Like at this point, week 0, week 1.2, week 0.67, I don't care. Let's just, please God, can we just kick it off?
Indeed, Jake. On that note, let's get into something you guys dropped a couple of days ago. Your top 10 quarterbacks in college football. I want to give you an opportunity to run through these. At number 1, you've got Caleb Williams of Southern Cal. Number 2, Drake May. Number 3, Jordan Travis. 4, Bo Nix. 5, KJ Jefferson. 6, Jaden Daniels. 7, Quinn Ewers. 8, Michael Penix Jr. 9, Sam Hartman. And number 10, Will Rogers. Just run through your picks and who are maybe some that just maybe missed the cut just outside of the top 10.
Yeah, well, I had Rattler 11, and I want people to know before everybody just freaks out. This wasn't this is where they're going to get drafted, graphic or projection. This is a production with what they have around them projection. I had Rattler at 11. I think I had Michael Pratt at 12. When you look at it, the one I guess you could say, I mean, Caleb Williams, number 1, and Drake May, number 2. I don't think anybody's going to be beating down the door asking questions about that. But you look at Jordan Travis, the way he's able to run the ball and throw the ball, the way he utilizes that offense and the weapons he has around him. I mean, obviously you guys know about Jaheim Bell. Look at Keon Coleman. The Vincent kid, I think, is a really good back. I think they're going to be pretty good up front. KJ at 5, I think they're going to lean on him so much at Arkansas. I mean, him and Rocket Sanders, probably the best one, a top 5 1-2 tandem in college football. Not a lot of people are talking about it. And then Will Rogers at 10. Everybody keeps talking about how, Will Rogers getting out of the air raid, it's going to be worse for him. I couldn't disagree more. Mississippi State was the most predictable team in college football last year. You knew what they were going to do. They were going to throw it, to run it. That's why everybody just decided to rush 3 and drop 8 and keep everything in front. now that they're going to a little bit of a different system, I think they're going to be more balanced. I mean, Mississippi State couldn't hit an explosive play if Robert Oppenheimer was on staff last year because everybody kept everything in front. So now that you have some unpredictability, you have a little bit more balance. I think it's going to open it up for Will a little bit more. And look, it's a new flavor of ice cream. The book's not out on what Mississippi State's going to do yet. So that's why I had him at 10. I mean, boy's about to break the SEC passing yards record. So, production with him. I know they lost Ra. They got Mississippi State always stays with one or two wide receivers that can really play, one that always comes out of nowhere. So I know Spencer Rattler, to me, I think he's when it comes to draft order, he's top 5 for me. I think he has that type arm talent, but that's not what this list was. Mm-hmm.
You speak on Spencer Rattler, Jake. Let's go there. I'm not sure. Have you seen some of the Spencer Rattler buzz that is sort of generated over the last few days? I forget I think it's Matt Zenitz over at On3. He's a national college football guy. Anyways, he posted an article just saying that, folks coming out of South Carolina are saying that he's playing like a man possessed and, he's primed for his best season yet. And I mean, listen, I know it's talking season. We take it all with a grain. It's best shape of my life season, right? We take it all with a grain of salt. But we talk a lot of line of scrimmage, Jake, and I think for good reason. If South Carolina gets average offensive line play, what do you think Spencer Rattler can be this year?
Well, man, look, I think Spencer's got the capability to have a huge year. Like when it comes to projecting South Carolina, we're doing our predictions next week, starting with the ACC on Monday, all the way through the SEC on Friday. I'm not worried about Spencer with South Carolina. That's the last thing I'm worried about. I think Spencer's going to take that momentum from the end of last year. And if Spencer's continued to grow throughout his career, you do have to look at that. You have to look at the improvement. I think the amount he's grown off the field has helped him more on the field than any amount of weights he can lift. He has natural arm talent. You go back and look when he looks like, he runs cross country in high school. I mean, the dude's still slinging the ball all over the field. He doesn't have to look like Hulk Hogan. But this is going to come down to whether that offensive line, can help run the ball to create that balance, right? To make play action more believable. The more space you have to cover, the more space that's left open. I talked about that this morning. And then the ability to protect him. If Spencer is allowed to keep his eyes downfield and work his way inside of the pocket, get outside of the pocket sometimes when he has to, he can have a huge year. I still, even with Marshawn Lloyd leaving, even with Jaheim Bell leaving, I still like what South Carolina has around him. There's guys that can make plays around him, and Spencer can elevate them. He's that good of a player. But football is not baseball. It is not basketball. One person cannot go out there and win the game while everybody else plays bad, especially up front. I know that's the biggest question that South Carolina fans have. How good are we going to be on the front, on offense, on the offensive line? How deep are we? Because somebody's going to get hurt, even outside of Nichols, who went down in spring. Unfortunately, that's a huge loss. Then in that front seven, who's going to help out Tonka and them guys? So at the end of the day, that's what's going to define South Carolina's season. And I think that's something that not many people that are outside of the South Carolina sphere are going to talk about. Look, talking about quarterbacks and this guy's going to have a big year. We're in this business for a living. That gets more clicks than talking about the right guard battle that's going on. But when it comes down to who's doing better on the field, that's what it comes down to.
Now, Jake, speaking of quarterbacks, the Auburn Tigers just named their starter, Peyton Thorne. Your thoughts on the decision? And I thought some of the comments from Hugh Freeze they were very interesting in the sense of he's naming his starter, but I think the battle is far from over at that spot.
Well, unless you have a guy that's just cemented and has been there, you always want that competition, right? I mean, you could say Joe Milton's on somewhat of a short leash over at Tennessee with the kid they have behind him, the 5-star there. So when you don't have a guy like a Spencer Rattler that's concrete and cemented in, there's not that there isn't pressure on Spencer, but there's a lot more on Peyton Thorne to go in and do the job. Now, I let off the show with it this morning. My monologue was about the 3 things that needs to happen for Peyton Thorne to be successful. And it's all about the system, right? I get into this talk about Jalen Milroe in Alabama going back to their old bully ball system. Do you fit it? If Peyton Thorne's legs are good enough to keep a defense honest in an RPO zone read style offense that's trying to manipulate eyes mid-play, that puts pressure on different points on the defense each play, that run game has to be believable. And I'll give you a great example. Jared Stidham running the zone read for Auburn, had no effect. Defenses were like, you're not going to keep it. He kept it once against Alabama, and Alabama was so shocked they didn't tackle him. He scored from like 20 yards out. They couldn't believe it. It was like Chris Angel. Like it was the mind freak. Like he was levitating down the field. So if Peyton Thorne runs well enough, this offense can be effective with the way he's flipped the offensive line, what they have in the backfield, what they have out wide. But if he doesn't, you're going to cut half the body off and make it easier for the defense and become a lot more one-dimensional than what you want to be, especially in an offense that really harps on being multi-dimensional while the play is going on. The second thing is the chemistry you build with the skill position guys, right? Because at this level, it's about anticipatory throwing. You can't just wait for him to get out of his break. You can't just wait for him to get to the top of the route to make a decision. You have to have a good idea of what's going on, and you can sit there in a meeting room. Y'all can go eat at Zaxby's together. You can go to his parents' house, and y'all can go fishing in the pond in his neighborhood. But that's not going to help you when you got option routes and choice routes out on the field if you don't have the physical reps to go with it and that repetition overall. And he wasn't here during the spring. That's something that is built on the field. I think that may have been one of the reasons it's taken a little bit longer for him to be named the starter, because you're not bringing in transfer portal quarterbacks to sit unless they're 6-year guys that want to get into coaching and they're basically GAs that hold a clipboard. That's not the situation here. So I know he knows ball. His father's one of the most legendary high school coaches in Illinois. They speak the language. He'll get the terminology down. But all that stuff is different and in a separate cupboard than the physical chemistry that needs to be built between not only quarterbacks and wide receivers, Chris, but quarterbacks and running backs when you're running that RPO action, because your eyes are up. Your footwork, your handwork, your feel, understanding when to press it, when not to press it, that's reps. And he just hadn't had a ton of time to get a lot of them.
Flaming Dragon Friday is the mantra on Fridays on Crain and Company.
Yeah.
And you guys, by the way, let me say this. Let's plug this really quickly. You guys are now airing on Twitter. So everybody tuned in. You don't just have to go to YouTube, or if you don't want to go to YouTube, you can stick around on Twitter. I saw the video this morning. Well done, sir. You guys were talking on your show this morning, quarterback battle updates, fall camp rumblings. Let me ask you this, Jake. Again, talking season, take it all with a grain of salt. But as you mentioned, we're diehards. We're sickos. We read in between the lines and get every little bit of information we can.
Yeah, degenerate for sure.
Degenerate, yes, yes. Is there an SEC team you feel more bullish on because of what you've heard out of fall camp? And is there an SEC team that maybe you have more questions on, or maybe the questions that you did have not been answered to this point through fall camp? Are there teams that fall in those two categories for you right now?
Yeah, I'm big on Georgia. I think they're
yeah. Oh, yeah, no kidding.
I think a team, and look, South Carolina fans, y'all get pissed about this. I mean, again, at the end of the day, it is what it is. If I wanted to make everybody happy, I'd sell ice cream for a living. I think Kentucky's sneaky. I think they're really sneaky. You look at that schedule, most of their big games are at home until the end, which they go to South Carolina, the game before the last game, and then they go to a Louisville team that brought in Jeff Brom. Papa's back. I really like Jeff as a head coach. I really like the way he game plans and the way he structures his program. But Devin Leary, a guy that everybody was raving about, right? He was hotter than Hansel at the Male Model Awards before last year at NC State, and then they fell off a cliff. So nobody's really on the Devin Leary train. Is this Devin Leary? Is that? But their offensive line last year, really a staple of what Mark Stoops wants Kentucky to be. That physical downhill run game, sprinkle a little bit of alternate formations, and now that you have Liam Cohen back, who was there 2 years ago when that offense really kind of grew into itself. From the 1930s speakeasy offense that Eddie Gran was running, where they didn't even throw the ball. He's back. Then you look at what they bring back at receiver, Barry and Brown, really good player. Dane Kelly, really good player. They brought in Ray Davis from Vanderbilt, a running back that I think is going to have a pretty big year that not a lot of people are talking about. But that's going to come down to the offensive line. I think Devin Leary's good enough and he's pissed off enough, and Kentucky's flying under the radar enough. When you add that schedule, that experience, and then bringing Liam back, I think Kentucky has a chance to finish second in the East. I really do. Now, when it comes to teams that I have a question mark about, I mean, Tennessee, right? We released our top 5 hinge players, which a hinge player to me is if he plays good, the team around him is good enough to really do some damage. And Joe Milton's one of those. I think Tennessee around him is good enough where if he plays well and learns how to throw the changeup, which I don't know if you can put that in somebody at this point. And can I say something, Chris? Like, I don't think I said this last week. What Joe Milton might have figured it out. I hope he did. I know the guy grinds. He's a great kid. David Cohn, who played at Michigan, who's on our show, that they rave about him back there, even though he left. But like everybody's acting like they just found out he had a strong arm. What? They're like, oh, he threw the ball 90 yards at the Manning camp. Nobody has ever questioned. That's his best move. That's his blue steel, right? That's his magnum. That's his look. It's, can he throw the changeup? Can he fit the ball in when he has to take some off of it? That's why it's called passing and not throwing. It's like guys in Major League Baseball. Oh, you throw 98. Wow, that's really good. You better have something else. Are they going to be knocking your ass around like you're on rounders? So, that's, if he can, Tennessee's good enough around him to do some damage. You get Georgia at home. You do have to go on the road at South Carolina. But here's another thing about South Carolina. They're not sneaking up on anybody this year. Like last year, you look at the way they were sneaky at the end. They had lost to Florida. They had looked bad. It was a hell of a turnaround by Shane Beamer and staff. One of the best I've seen towards the end of the season. But they're not sneaking up on anybody this year. So I'm going to stay in the SEC East. Watch out for Kentucky and Tennessee. I think it's a big question mark with a lot of growth potential.
Let's have some fun, Jake. Hypothetically, with Tennessee, they're just thought to be the fourth best team in the SEC. I mean, I've picked them to go 9-3, and I feel like it's such an easy pick because of what they did last year. And I think Tennessee Nation, they want more. They feel like they're back. But I mean, like hypothetically, what if they go 7-5? Like what if Tennessee kind of comes back to reality? Obviously, this is not a Tennessee show, but like I feel like this is a pivotal year for them because if you do fall back to, if disaster hits, if Milton doesn't have the changeup, it'll be like, okay, Tennessee, you caught lightning in a bottle for 1 year, but you're still just what you've been the last 20 years or so, or since Phil Fulmer left. I mean, this feels like for Tennessee to really change the perception of their program, to solidify that. Like, I think they have to go win 9 games or more. I just maybe 8, but like if they fall below that, Jake, I think it's really going to hurt that overall brand and their program and what they're trying to build, obviously.
Well, yeah, it's going to be like the cops breaking up a high school party. After like the first hour was just killer. Like everybody's there. Everybody's having a good time. Senior year. Hey, put your keys in the bowl. Nobody's driving. We're being safe. Not saying that underage people should drink. That's not what I'm saying. They shouldn't. That's bad. Stop it. But let's say it's just, hey, we're out here drinking Mountain Dews, man. Everybody's having a good time, talking about glory days. Everybody's about to split up and go to college. Then all of a sudden, cops open the door. Hey, everybody's got to go home, right? Now all of a sudden you miss curfew. Your parents are pissed. It'd be a buzzkill, for lack of a better term, right? So do I think that would knock Tennessee back into the wilderness they were roaming around in of mediocrity and irrelevancy? No, I think they've recruited well enough. Especially up front, I think they've really upgraded. Not enough people talk about that with Tennessee. Everybody talks about the quarterback position and the warp drive offense that Josh Heupel runs, and I get that. That makes sense. That's a lot sexier to talk about. But I think what they've done in the front seven on defense and on the offensive line, it has sustaining power. They're kind of back on brand a little bit. But, man, if they go – I mean, I think even 8-4, Chris, I think people would be really, really disappointed. But here's where I would worry if I was a Tennessee fan. Right, we all know the most popular player on the roster most of the time is who? It's the backup quarterback. Well, you add in that kid's a 5-star, the next coming, next up, and Joe Milton struggles early, right? Look, they got UTSA, week 2? Like that's Frank Harrison. Frank Harrison's been playing since 1987, man. Like you're not – this is a UTSA team with Jeff Traylor, who I think is going to be the next head coach at Houston because I don't believe Dana's going to be able to sustain it there. They're a team that really believes, man, and they've got some guys that have played in some big games. They were in the spotlight last year. That's going to be a tough non-conference game. Kind of like, to be honest with you, Jacksonville State's not going to be a walk around in the tulips for South Carolina either. I know that personally. I know that staff. I know the players that they get. That's it, man. Y'all's non-conference. North Carolina, Clemson, and then Jacksonville State thrown in there. They're just good enough to piss you off and worry you. But when it comes back to Tennessee, man, yeah, look, they're partying, the Vol Navy, everybody's showing up, the Armada's here. The expectations are back to where they normally are. Beat Bama last year, but they go 8-4. There's going to be some pissed off Tennessee fans.
You mentioned, Jake, that non-conference. You didn't even touch on the Furman Paladins, who are actually preseason ranked in the top 10 in the FCS rankings. I know it's a different level, but if you look at last year, they played Clemson and they got beat, but they outgained Clemson in that game. So,
man, who made the schedule? Like as a former coach, I'm pissed. Like I'm pissed. Like if you're gonna schedule, where's South Carolina State at? Why can't we play them? Furman? You give me Furman? We already got Clemson. Already got North Carolina. I mean, damn, Furman? Why can't we go to Bishop Sycamore wasn't available? They couldn't lie their way into this game? You just pile drive them into the ground? It just sucks, man. If I'm Shane Beamer, I'm pissed.
Yeah, I don't know. BS High, where are they? I can't wait to watch that documentary, by the way. Let's, I find it funny, Jake. I don't feel like I've heard a lot or talked a lot. Maybe I'm just not listening to the right people, but about the Georgia Bulldogs. I just have, we kind of just, whatever, they're going to be in, no big deal. But reading some of the comments, Kirby Smart feels like he's a little bit on edge this fall. It feels like he's a little ticked off. He's a little ticked off. Do you think that's something where, I'm not saying he's obviously, I don't think he's worried about his football team, but it feels like he's definitely trying to and I say manufacture kindly, not like in a false way, but create motivation, create a sense of urgency, because as much as he wants to play the underdog, man, everybody's picking him to win it. I mean, everybody, they're number one in the preseason. Lots of most folks picking them to win it all. Your thoughts on the Georgia camp and what you're expecting from, I mean, we're expecting Georgia to dominate. They're head and shoulders above everybody else. But, I mean, what they're trying to accomplish this year, to say it's unprecedented is putting it kindly. Minnesota back in the 30s was the last team to win 3 straight national titles.
We all know how talented that team was. The only thing that's more dangerous than a target on your back is when everybody's patting you on the back. Yeah. That's more dangerous. And we know Georgia's personnel. Carson Beck's going to be fine. I mean, he's stepping. You clipped it last week. Stepping into Ferrari, he's just going to drive the speed limit. That's not a Georgia driving joke. That's just like what has to happen.
I couldn't help myself, Jake. I apologize.
Oh, no, dude, look, it was good. It worked. But man, it's hard to sit here and I think one of Kirby's best attributes with his team is that he's always honest with his guys. Now, coming out in the media, he's never gonna come out and say, "Well, we're gonna win it again, folks. I just got back from practice. Oh my God, we are so good." Like that's never gonna happen. So he's gonna talk about them, not being there yet, not reading your own press clippings. But I guarantee you, when he's talking to that team, he's like, "Listen," and he said this at SEC Media Day. The best way to handle complacency is to talk about it, right? You have to admit that it's gonna be there. And the way I would go about it, and the way I think he's going about it is, do you really want to be the class, older guys that stop the run? Is that what you want to be known for? Like your 2 classes before you, they've set an incredible standard. They did something that's unprecedented at Georgia. We hadn't won a natty since 1980, won back-to-back. Now, not only can you be the class that continues it, you can be the class that legitimately makes history in all of college football. So I know he's maneuvering about it the right way. When you recruit at that level, the personnel is going to be outstanding. Their offensive line, we ought to just send them to Ukraine. That war will be over in about 12 hours. But, it's to the point where it's tough. It's tough because everybody's telling you, hey, now it's expected, right? You're truly expected to not only win the national championship, but not lose the game. They've usurped Bama as the bully of college football, and that's tough. But look, Kirby is the ultimate mind manipulator, right? And in a good way. I mean that in a good way of, getting guys to move in one direction, to not put the cart in front of the horse. And Georgia's going to be damn good, man. They really are.
Jake, last thing before I get you out of here, because obviously you and I will not speak again on these airwaves until game day eve for South Carolina. Yours truly taking some time off next week. We'll get back after it again, like I mentioned.
Have you disclosed that location?
Yes, so I'm actually going to Montana, believe it or not. First time
what
ever.
Part,
so
dude, I coached out there for 2 years.
It's
you
like
you don't have to say the part. You don't have to say the part if you're.
Well, I'll take you this: western side of the state. And I believe we're going to stay a night at Yellowstone. So that's I'm around there. Yeah, bro, we're going to have a good time.
Here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to tell you. All right. 3 things. 1, Bears are not, they're not fun to hang out with. Don't do that. Like every say, oh, let's go on a hike in the wood. The first week I got out there, a sheriff's deputy was mountain biking, turned the corner, scared a grizzly, and the grizzly just knocked his head off. Like just knocked it off. All right, and those things, you're not getting away. Okay, there's no, you better have a gun, like, and they'll be like, oh, bring bear spray. Okay, yeah, great. Here, let me get some Pam out of the pantry to handle against this Baloo that's coming here to rip my arms off. Second thing, you're going at a great time of year. It's still warm enough. I went out there in June where it was warm. It was like a Disney princess, man. It was like the Sound of Music. I was like on top of the mountains, spinning around. I don't know how long you're gonna stay until football season.
Sunday through Saturday.
Good, because it gets so cold. Like it's a different level of cold. Like a cold that I didn't understand until it like hits you on the inside. But yeah, man, it's a great, Montana's beautiful. It's a great place to go stay for like a week.
Yeah, the good news is I'm going with Miss TSUS, and this is not her first rodeo out there. So we're going to see some of her family, hang out with her brother. He actually lives out there, so we got a place to stay. Going to be a great time. We're going to go to Glacier National Park.
When are you coming back to Nashville and staying with us so you can meet Mrs. Crain and Company?
Miss Crain and Co. I don't know. We got to figure that out because I did love Nashville the little bit that I got to see. It's a really cool city. So I tell you what, I walked around. I walked around Broadway that night. They had the dinner or whatever. It's the Predator Stadium, and I was like, you could get lost down here. You could get lost down here, bro.
There's all the bachelorette parties in the world.
Dangerous.
But look, Midtown is the real move, though. Midtown's at Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. Everybody.
The tourist spot.
There's Morgan Wallen, but you want to go to Midtown.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the good news is this, Jake, though. I will be back in time because we got such an early flight that Saturday. We're getting back to the homeland about 3 o'clock or so, which I'm so excited because I'm going to be watching Vanderbilt, Hawaii, like it's the freaking Super Bowl, my friend. With that being said,
I can't wait.
Since speaking of Nashville, right? Since we're not going to chat this time next week, I definitely want to get your quick thoughts on week 0, week half, week 1.2, whatever, like you said. Notre Dame, Navy, Jacksonville State, UTEP, New Mexico State, UMass, San Diego State, Ohio, Vandy, Hawaii, of course, Southern Cal, San Jose State, and La Tech and FIU. Jake, I said college football was back. I didn't say it was going to move the needle for you. Do those slate of games do anything? I mean, listen, we get college football. It's like I mentioned before. It's like being an alcoholic drinking shoe shine. It may not be the real thing, but it's good enough. You know what I mean? So anything jump out to you in week 0, just maybe some things you're excited to see, looking forward to? Because, there are some notable teams obviously taking the field on that Saturday.
Yeah, at this point, it could be Helen Keller State versus Stevie Wonder Tech. I don't care. I'm going to watch it. A couple things. Vandy, only a 17.5-point favorite last time I checked at home. God, do I just buy that down to 16.5 and put the rent on it? That's what I like. I think San Diego State at Snapdragon, our buddy Tim Brando is going to be out there calling that game versus Ohio. I think they're only a 3.5-point favorite. I tell you what, I'm probably going to parlay the under of Notre Dame Navy 50.5 because Navy's going to just try and sit on the ball, and I don't think they could score on Notre Dame if they started at the 3 going in every drive. I would take the under Notre Dame 50.5. I would parlay San Diego State minus 2.5. I would parlay Vanderbilt minus 16.5. You put that together, and then Jacksonville State money line. I'm just telling you that y'all know about Gamecocks, right? It's weird looking at each other, same mascot, whatever, mind mouthing, Spider-Man gif. But I would parlay those together. Get started off on the right foot, right? You want to be able to go show the wife, hey, that $100 I took out, we're supposed to spend at Kroger. Guess what? Here's $350. Now all of a sudden we're going to the farmer's market.
I love it. Hey, that better be one of your official plays, by the way. I'm going to be looking forward to that one. And I'm going to play that myself. So, hey, let's break the bookie. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And you said you got a new sponsor. I thought when you said my bookie, it was like your boy.
No, mybookie.ag.
Trevor's gonna come on here.
My guy's sponsoring us. Yeah, my dude. Gotcha. I can't say him by name, but he's just my guy, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, it's my bookie.
I love that.
It's my buddy Tobin. He's super cool.
Yeah, his website is betwinbig.com
with a number behind it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Jake Crain of Crain and Company. Jake, one last thing. You guys released your top 25. What's the one pick selection ranking you think you got the most crap for?
Probably having Bama and Ohio State outside of the top 5. And again, we did those rankings based on who we thought the top 25 teams were going into the year, not how it's going to finish. We're doing those predictions later. I had LSU at 3. I had Florida State at 4. I've got Ohio State right now is in a quarterback battle, and Ryan Day didn't exactly seem thrilled about what's going on. I know that they have the Avengers out at wide receiver, but they lost both tackles and their center to the NFL. They're going to be really good on defense. But then I had USC ranked at 11, not South Carolina. All right, Southern Cal. How about that? Everybody shake hands and be friends because they don't play defense. Like, this isn't a Globetrotters game, right? It's not about just going out there and scoring. They've given up 52 points a game in all the major bowl games that Lincoln Riley's coached in. The Grinch is going to steal Christmas again. You have to be balanced on a team to win the Natty. I'm so sick of people getting gassed up about this USC team when they don't tackle anybody. So probably that, and then Texas at 5. That's right. I said it.
Texas at 5. Jake Crain. Jake, let folks know where they can check you out. We got some comments in here. Where can I see Crain and Company? Let the folks know where to find you.
Look, it's really easy. All right. What you do is you walk outside and you face wet. No, I'm just kidding. Go to YouTube. Go to YouTube right now, unless you're driving, then pull over and type in Crain, Crain, and Company. All right. You'll see us. I'm the good looking one. Hit subscribe. We're 3,000 away from 100,000 subs on Twitter. We also go live on Twitter. I'm just not going to call it X because I'm not, I don't run a mutant school. So it's Twitter. You can find us. We're going live on there. And we're doing our fantasy football draft. All right. With all the Daily Wire. We're the sports show for the Daily Wire. We don't talk politics. Don't worry. But we're having a fantasy football league draft, and you can be in the league with us and Ben Shapiro. All right. You go to that YouTube page. You make sure you're subscribed, and then you put your fantasy football team name under our fantasy football video, and you could be live drafting with us next week and hold this L that we're about to give everybody. So go check this out.
Jake Crain of Crain and Company. Jake, always a pleasure, man, and congratulations. The offseason's over. We made it, man. Happy about it.
Let's all hug, right? Group hug. All right, Chris, great to talk to you, man. Be careful. Out there.
I appreciate you, Jake. Yeah, we'll talk soon,
Bears
man.
are not your friend.
Noted. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Great stuff from Jake Crain and Company. Bears are not your friend. I will make sure to do my very best to refrain from petting the Bears, if you will. Guys, we're going to jump into a quick break on the other side. Hey, the Q&A Power Hour officially begins as we take your questions, your comments, your calls as well here on this Friday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars. And there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also sponsored by Rhine Law Firm, LLC, principally managed by James R. Rhine Jr., located at 1350 Ashley River Road, Suite 650, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407, serving the greater Charleston area.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Friday, August the 18th, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. With that being said, the Q&A Power Hour officially gets underway here on this Friday. We're taking your questions, your comments, your calls at 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. We'll start off the Q&A Power Hour with a voicemail from an old friend of ours.
Hi, Chris. It's Dale from East Tennessee, man. What's up? I was listening in yesterday, and I heard you going out of town next week, so I figured I'd call in while I could. I'd hate to say I wasn't excited about you leaving, though, because my God, that means we ain't got to listen to John Edward Kruger, a.k.a. Bowl Cut, or the Zach Sauce Packet, Robbie Davis. I honestly think them two should do. You remember when y'all used to tell Becky that her and Robbie should start a podcast? Nah, I think John Edward and Robbie should start a band together and call it the Bowl Cut Brothers. Sounds like a hit to me, man. Good Lord. But yeah, man, I heard you going to a Hannah Montana concert next week. So, man, I'm excited for you. That sounds like a hell of a time. So, man, if you could, just bring me back a T-shirt, man. I'm in an extra large on a good day. So if you can give me one of them T-shirts from that concert out there, I appreciate it, man. I'm a big fan of Hannah Montana. And, yeah, man, I hope you have a good time, good trip. And thank you for taking a break so I ain't got to listen to them morons for a week, man. Yeah, I'd like to do a slap fight against both of them at the same time. And then go take them to Hooters because they've never been. That's where the real chicken wings are. Let me tell you, man. Hooters, hands down. And Lynn, if you're listening, I'll still take you out. You know, if you want to go on a date with old Dale. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. BDD out.
Oh, BDD out. John Edward has a response. He says, "Shut up, Dale." John Edward, fiery in the chat once again. What's going on, John Edward? What's going on, John Edward? There's a beef between Dale, John Edward, and Robbie Davis. God, what a time. What a time. Jeremy Smith asked this question. Hey, Chris, we're going to see Alex McGrath on the podcast this season. Jeremy, I'm expecting to have Alex on here and there. It will not be a weekly thing, though, like it has been in the past. Unfortunately, just with the growth and the evolution of the show and the guests that we have on right now, unfortunately, Alex was one of the odd men out, and it was a tough decision, but it's a decision we made. But I will have Alex McGrath on the show at some point because obviously I value what Alex has to say, and I know you guys really like hearing from Alex McGrath as well. So we will have him on at some point, but he will not be a weekly guest with us. Let's see. Let's see. Our friend Austin Gregory, we were having this conversation this morning. He said about the Tennessee game. He said, if you're looking for revenge, it's because you know that the team is capable of beating you. And if you don't think they were, you truly wouldn't be scared and truly weren't scared. Revenge wouldn't be on your mind. That'd be like me saying I'm not scared of Mizzou. I'm absolutely terrified of them because they're capable of winning and have done so. I mean, certainly, right? To be vengeful, something had to happen. So you're not totally wrong there. You're not totally wrong there. Let's see. I don't know what happened to Dale's graphic. Somebody asked. I don't know. I gotta go back and find it. I don't think I deleted it. I don't know where it went. I don't know. Anyways, guys, we'll get back into your questions. Let's go back to the top of the show. We missed a lot of questions here, I believe. As Brennan M. said at the top of the show, high school football game day. Hope you enjoy yourself. If you're going to a high school football game tonight, this weekend, I think Burns actually plays on Saturday, right? Don't they play on? I think they play on Saturday in North Carolina. I've been hearing the ad on the radio. So, Brandon Ward going to a high school game tonight, ready for Gamecock football. Indeed. Mantis, happy Friday. Stay sharp, Chris. 15 days. No doubt. Mark Powell says, Purple Haze, go Saluda. The Saluda Tigers. You don't mess with these country boys. They'll kick you to the sleep. Love it. Peyton Smith, what's up, Chris? Pumped for the season. No more preseason. Indeed. Mark Powell says, sick lid, bro. Thank you. The camo. We got the camo lid on today. Jeff Gullidge says, it's 110 degrees in the great state of Texas. Yeah, I was looking at the weather for Montana, man. It's going to be like low 80s during the day, which is really, really nice. And then at night, it gets down to like the 50s, like pretty damn chilly. So we're going to get really all kinds of weather. So let's see. The weather. Yeah, look at this. I mean, we got, when we leave, it'll be 80, 76, 77, 79, 82, 82. Those are the highs. And the lows, you're looking at 55, 57, 51, 49, 52. So, and the air's really thin there, too, from what I've been told. So, it'll play into the weather as well. My brother! What's going on, Steven? What's up? Brian Dean says, my 40th high school football season, game 523 tonight. Wow. That's crazy, man. Congratulations on that, Brian Dean. That's awesome. Austin Gregory says, special teams beat Clemson, offense beat Tennessee, defense beat Kentucky. We need all three to gel many times over this year. Indeed, Austin. I mean, how many complete games have we played over the last 2 years? Truly, it's been few and far in between, it seems. Austin says, I'm convinced that Ray Guy only gives the awards to people who attended their camp. That is the only logical explanation I can think as to why Kroger did not win it last year. Maybe so, but if that's the case, that's not a good excuse. Not a good excuse at all. Jacob E. says, special teams was the reason we were able to beat Clemson. No, dude, no doubt. John Edward, Jadeveon Clowney to the Ravens. Wow, Ravens are stocking up, dude. Ravens are stocking up. Jay Schott, Chris, who has more touchdowns this year, special teams or defense? Touchdowns, I'll go defense. GA says simply Keisman. Love it. Big Creek 61. I smell football in the air. Indeed. Austin says Hilton Head golf trip for the second weekend in October has been booked. We'll definitely be going by Carolina Cigars. Yes, Austin. Definitely check them out. Tell them that we sent you specifically, and they will take care of you for sure. They'll take care of you either way, but tell them that we sent you for sure. They'll handle all your needs, my guy. They got you. So, Austin Gregory, if you take the average grade of your position unit preview grades, what does that make our overall team grade? I'd have to go back, Austin, and do the math, but I would imagine it puts us around, I think, a C plus grade, something like that, pretty close to that. I think that's what it would put us at. Ethan K says, if we compare quarterbacks to ace pitchers, I compare punters and kickers as setup guys and closers. Need them all to be consistent to be successful. Jimmy F says, you and JC start too close together. Makes me miss a little of this. Yeah, I apologize, Jimmy F. It's one of those things. They go 11-1. Should we move 1-4? Should that be the new move? 1-4? Just to avoid any crossover or anything. I just love the 12-3 slot, really. Austin Gregory, week 1 is a must-win game for any fan expecting us to win 9 games. I mean, yeah, I don't think, Austin, there's many, if any, record predictions out there that would have the Gamecocks 9-3 with a loss to North Carolina. Yeah, I mean, you lose to North Carolina, and whether you picked 8 wins, 9 wins, whatever it might be, like, expectations will be reset, and reset very, very quickly if South Carolina does not win that football game. Again, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Apparently, the block feature is going to be deleted on Twitter except for DMs. There will be no more blocking people. Twitter, X, whatever. No more blocking people. In other news, Gamecock Twitter is about to be a shit show, even more so than it normally is. I mean, there's some people that some folks have blocked that, you know, that there's some instances where, like, it's maybe it's best those two don't cross paths. Like Mark Ryan, for example, has got a lot of people blocked that don't see his content because he has them blocked. And now that's going to be gone, supposedly. You know, interesting play by the folks over at Twitter. Interesting play by X, for sure. Jimmy F. Cox win in Charlotte by 17. And we win 9 games in the regular season. I love that pick, Jimmy. I hope you're right. Austin Gregory says, first 5 weeks are critical. Got to make it to week 6 with 2 losses max if you want to buy into SC hype late in the year this season. Yeah, I mean, Austin, listen, first 5 games, North Carolina, Furman, Georgia, Mississippi State, Tennessee. 3-2 is the goal. 3-2 or better. You start 3-2, that, in my opinion, is a success. Georgia, going to be extremely tough. Tennessee, going to be very, very tough in Knoxville. You beat North Carolina. Of course, you beat Furman, and you beat Mississippi State. That, to me, is a very solid start because you've like you mentioned, you got Florida upcoming. Chance at a 4-2 start going into the back half of your schedule. I mean, I like the odds there. 4-2 with 6 left, and 4 of those 6 are at home. That sets up well. That sets up really, really well. John Rice, boom! Yeah, we dropped the mic putting a pin in the offseason, I think. So, Austin Gregory, when is the bowl game? The simulation. Austin, I don't know. I guess maybe we could do it today. I mean, could y'all swing doing it at 6 o'clock? Could that work? Could 6 o'clock for the bowl game work? We could do it today. The only plans I had today were to eat, edit the podcast, obviously content, but probably work out as well. I think I could probably swing 6 o'clock. I mean, normally we started at 7, but I'm trying to get it done before we get into the night, and we need to pack and all that stuff. So maybe today. Jeremy Smith, what's the chances we see Chris Phillips running across Willie D mid-game? 0, because I will be right here in studio watching and covering every single game and hosting the post-game call-in show, which is going to be just electric. I can't wait. The post-game call-in show is going to be just flat-out phenomenal, dude. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be phenomenal. Mantis says that Robbie wins in 2 rounds against Dale. Wow. You taking Robbie Davis. Okay. Austin Miller says, I don't think we win against Tennessee, but damn, it would be awesome to do it. You know, I've said it already, guys. That's a swing game that I feel like it's probably the least likely that South Carolina wins that game, but maybe we're making too much of the whole revenge factor thing, right? Like maybe we're letting that play too much into our thought process on that game. Bruin Nation, we are absolutely flying to Montana, my guy. Dude, a drive from here to there, it would take literally like 23 hours. Like, nah, I'm good. We're good on that, my guy. We're good on that. We are good on that. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the sights, the scenes. Man, it's going to be – I've heard many good things, heard it's breathtaking, and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. How about our guy GA got himself a Kai Kroger jersey? Love that. Love that, my man. Austin Gregory, by the way, said this in the Big Cock Club Discord. He said, I'm going to go ahead and say this on record. Tennessee peaked last year under Heupel. You went to Death Valley and demolished the SEC West champion. You beat Alabama for the first time in over a decade and a half. You were ranked number 1 in the country at one point. Were they? Were they ranked number 1? I don't remember that. You finished with 11 wins. You beat Clemson in a bowl game. You were selected in the top 4 in the college ball playoff late in the year. That will be the best version of Tennessee that Heupel's ever able to muster. Calling it now. Okay. What do y'all think? Does Tennessee ever get back to 11 wins under Heupel? Or was it a flash in the pan, 1 year, one and done, no more? Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Our good friends over at collegefootballnews.com are already dropping picks for week 1. How about this? I wonder if they've got to have week 0, right? They've got Utah, Florida. Let's see what collegefootballnews.com says about Utah and Florida. Florida versus Utah. Who will win? Here's their prediction. Here's what they have to say. Florida will be undervalued with all the unknowns needing to come together after a disappointing year, but it's Florida. It has the SEC talent. It found a way to hold up in the season opener against the Utes last season, and it has the athletes, the disrespected athletes, to rise up and make a big statement. But Utah is at home. The Utes are stunningly mediocre from Rice-Eccles Stadium against the better teams, but in their house with that energy and the swagger of being the 2-time Pac-12 champion and ranked higher than anyone in the 2024 Big 12 configuration, they'll pull this off by being Utah. Almost certainly not having Cam Rising, their quarterback, will matter, but the other parts will take over. Great line play, amazing defense, third down efficiency, one big special teams play. Florida got the thrilling win last year by coming up with that one key stop when it really needed it at the end, and now flip that around with the home factor playing a part. CollegeFootballNews.com prediction for Florida and Utah. They've got the Utah Utes 30, Florida 24. So a close game. And Florida covering the 7.5-point spread. What say you? I know Austin Gregory does not agree. I think Austin Gregory thinks it's going to be a blowout. What say you, though? Austin Gregory says, what's your favorite week 1 matchup outside of our game? I mean, Austin, it's hard not to say Florida State LSU. It's hard not to say that, but I feel like that's too easy. So I'm going to give you a different answer, okay? I really can't wait to watch Florida and Utah. I'm really intrigued and excited by Florida, Utah. We'll talk about that more in week 1, by the way, break down that game. I'm really excited about that game. It would not surprise me if Florida kept that game much, much closer than folks are expecting. So I'm excited for that one for sure. 8 o'clock on ESPN. Outside of that, if I had to pick one, let's see. I could go TCU, Colorado, Deion's debut, if you will. I'd probably have to say, I mean, Clemson Duke's another one. That one is really, low-hanging fruit, if you will. Yeah, Coastal at UCLA, 10:30 on ESPN. That is a really, really fun ball game. That'll be really interesting. Outside of that, though, I am going to go Tennessee and Virginia. I'm just excited to see what Tennessee looks like with Joe Milton at quarterback. And guys, Tennessee's like a 28-point favorite. I don't think Virginia is going to win the ball game. I certainly don't think that. But I'm just excited to see what Tennessee looks like. Like, do they look like that team last year that was so dominant offensively and was slinging it all over the yard and just blowing people out? Or, do they come back down to earth a little bit? So, but yeah, guys, as I mentioned, you just heard me say, we are going to talk and break down SEC football on these airwaves unlike we have ever done so before. It is not just going to be South Carolina 24/7. It's going to be primarily Gamecocks. Don't get me wrong, it's a Gamecock show, but we're going to talk a lot of SEC. We're going to break down each of these games. Again, not as in-depth as South Carolina, but we're going to talk about these games, break down these games, give predictions for these games, give gambling picks for these games. Really, really excited to do that, to follow more so with SEC football. And again, guys, that's another one of the reasons, honestly, I'm staying back in studio, and I'm excited to do so because, guys, you may not realize over the last couple of years, selling merchandise, doing the whole meet and greet thing, hanging out with people, it was awesome. And I'm not complaining. It was great. But I missed every football game. Like, I missed all of the football except South Carolina. I cannot tell you all how giddy I am to wake up at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., make a cup of coffee, come upstairs in the studio and sit down and cut on the TV, cut on College Game Day, and just watch college football all day long. I cannot wait for it. Guys, that being said, we're going to jump into a quick break on the other side. Keep the conversation rolling. Keep your questions coming in. Questions, comments, calls, and more on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to The Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also sponsored by Rhine Law Firm, LLC, principally managed by James R. Rhine Jr., located at 1350 Ashley River Road, Suite 650, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407, serving the greater Charleston area.
Muscle Dougie Ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Friday, August the 18th, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Give me just 1 second, guys. We're taking your questions, comments, calls as well. I need to shoot a text here. Anyways, let's get into your questions. Seth says, odds that Joyner rushes over 800 yards. I think it's possible, Seth. I've locked in it. If he can get to 500 or more, I think it's a really good year. And anything beyond that is gravy. I just think because Seth, realistically, like, I think it's going to be running back by committee. I really do. I think it's running back by committee. I just think that it would surprise me if just solely one guy, and you need more than one running back. Like, others are going to play. You know what I mean? Others are going to play for sure. Austin says, I want to visit every SEC stadium, but Mississippi and those cowbells may be unbearable. Yeah, Austin, I'd love to do the same. I really would. I'd love to visit every single SEC stadium. That'd be a lot of fun. Be a lot of fun. Yeah. John Edward, week 0 is not the official kickoff for me. It's week 1. Well, John Edward, some of us just decide to enjoy ball and embrace week 0, my guy. Luke Weatherford says, pet the Bears. Gotcha. Anyways, guys, we're putting a pin in, or we really put a pin in the offseason as we prepare for kickoff. Gamecocks and North Carolina, the next time that we speak on TDC, it will be game week. It will be game week. Guys, in the meantime, next week, though, although there's no TDC, I'm really excited for you guys to hear some of the great conversations that we have in store. Really looking forward to it, man. Some really, really fun convos. I know you guys are sure to enjoy. Guys, let me say this yet again. I've said it many times, but I want to echo it. Thank you so much for the continued love and support on the podcast side of things. Just taking a look at the numbers. Last month, we were just over 64,000 downloads for the entire month. We are on day number 18 in the month of August. And we sit currently at 64,000 downloads. So we are on our way to setting a record yet again, and I think 100,000 downloads is in play for this month, and I expect for us to stay there, to live there all throughout the football season. Anyways, guys, back into your questions. Old bowl cut. Chase Floyd, old bowl cut. KFC, what's a download? A download's a listen, KFC. A download's a listen. A play, that counts as a download. So, yeah, plays. It's the same thing. Same thing. High school football getting underway tonight all across the state of South Carolina. Let's see. Excited to go into week 0 too, man. Vandy, Hawaii. Really pumped for that game. I am very, very pumped for that game, believe it or not. Very pumped for it. Guys, if you haven't done so, join the Big Cock Club today. Patreon.com/Big Cock Club. And or click the link in our bio, and you'll see the link for the Big Cock Club there. We'll be watching college football on the BCC and the BCC Discord all season long. All season long. So, very excited for it. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll hang out together, watch ball. Going to be a blast. Absolutely going to be a blast. Oh, KFC, you're joking. Okay. Well, some people don't. Hey, listen, some people really don't understand, like, download, play. It's the same thing. So. Anyways, let's jump to the phone lines here.
From
Peyton.
Peyton, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How about yourself, man? What's going on, man?
I am doing fantastic, my friend. Appreciate you asking. What's up?
So, going in and talk a little bit about Nick Harbor again for a second.
Mhm.
So Fox Sports, it might have been the Athletic, but I'm on a Fox Sports website, and they list their top 50 freak athletes list in the country. Nick Harbor tops that list as a true freshman, above Brock Bowers, above Marvin Harrison Jr., above all of these proven commodities in college football. The true freshman sits at the top of that board. I think, I just think that's such a statement for such a young guy like Nick Harbor.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, listen, you look at the combination of size, of speed, of athleticism, Guys who are as big as he is, they're not supposed to be able to move as quickly as he does and run as fast as he does. So all the tools are there. That's what that screams to me, Peyton, is all the tools are there. He has everything he needs to be necessary or be successful. He has all that you need to be successful. Now it's about putting him in the best possible positions to have success, to be an elite player. And, I think he can be a damn good one at South Carolina. It's just all about putting him in positions to be successful because from the physical standpoint, he has things you simply cannot teach.
Exactly, man. And so Jody Wright, tight ends coach at USC, quoted it saying, I would say a taller Julio Jones with a Derrick Henry type build is a great comparison. When you just sit and think about all-time freak athletes in college football, Julio Jones and Derrick Henry are some of the first couple of names that you think of when you really think of freak athletes in college.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that he is a taller Julio with a Derrick Henry type build, you might as well just call him Superman for God's sake, man. I mean, I'm sure we're all aware of the weight gain. He's now 243 pounds at 6'5". I just think that spells eventually now, and we've gone back and forth on the preseason on all of this. There's a lot of nuances to the wide receiver game, especially in the SEC, and there's a lot of nitty gritty things that need to be worked out. Harbor's kind of a raw goods kind of guy right now, and I just think if we get that dialed in and we get him prepared to take on the role of, I think he's eventually going to be our number one pass catcher guy, and I think it's probably going to happen next season. But if you compare talent in the wide receiver position to a 6'5", 243-pound frame that also just happens to run a 10.22 in the 100-meter dash, I just think that spells matchup nightmare for pretty much every corner that Nick Harbor lines up against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, listen, you hit all the nail on the head so many points, man. I'm so excited for Nick Harbor and what he's going to bring to this Gamecocks offense and this football team. And again, because he's got things you just can't teach. So it'll be up to the coaching staff now. And Dabble Loggins, obviously, there's pressure to utilize him in the correct way and get the football in his hands in creative ways, especially early, to utilize that skill set. For an offense that's looking for playmakers and for answers offensively, explosiveness. That's a heck of a guy to have at your disposal. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how they use him, man. As a true freshman, I'm coming into it with, somewhat of conservative expectations, but I also just think realistic expectations for a youngster. I think obviously he's got all the tools. It's about learning the game. But the second he does that, man, the second that he has that light bulb moment and it kind of all clicks for him, yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be dangerous, man. And you talk about player comps. I look at him very similar like a Jared Cook. Like that body build, that athleticism. Jared Cook was a massive human being and very quick as well, very agile, very fast. So there's a reason that Jared Cook's still doing it in the NFL. So I think Nick Harbor can be that type of player. And excited to watch him this fall for sure.
Yeah, I just think, just as a true raw freshman, topping the list of 50 freak athletes. I mean, it's posted on FoxSports.com, but I believe it was The Athletic originally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's Bruce Feldman's list of The Athletic. That's his list. So I just think to put him above, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is regarded as the best receiver in college football right now, and Brock Bowers is just, if you could create the prototypical blue chip college tight end as an NFL recruit, if you could just pinpoint and make everything what you want, Brock Bowers is that guy. But the true freshman tops that list. I just think I don't think it's something that can be understated. And it's not necessarily something that we weren't expecting. Everybody kind of knew what kind of guy we were landing when we got Nick Harbor, but it's to see him compared to all of these established college guys. it's really something special to see. So I think like I said, man, it all comes down to how you can fine tune them and how you can coach them.
Yeah.
And I think Beamer's got the staff to do that effectively.
Yep, it'll be on then to do it, man. But again, I'm excited for it. I mean, again, he's just another weapon, and the big question for him will be, going from being a track guy to being a football guy. Not saying he wasn't a football guy before, but like being a big time football guy. I know he's a track star. I think that can only help him and translate into success on the field. But yeah, I'm excited, man. It's going to be really cool to see him in garnet and black on the field making plays. Like you mentioned, that was such a big win in recruiting. So to actually see him out there on the field is going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. And I think what's going to be key early on is, and you've said this over and over again, I think Dowell Loggins has got a little pressure on him in regards to getting Nick the ball early on in creative ways that Mike could be able to speed up the process of getting him ready to take on that true wide receiver position. Just try to get the ball in his hands. And I think the biggest key is try to give him at least 3 steps of open space. Because I think if you give that kid 3 steps of open space, I don't think there might be 1 or 2 guys in the country that could even be able to keep up with him. So I just think, you've said it over and over. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's going to be very crucial to try to find creative ways to get him the ball early, whether that be swing passes, whether that be screens, whether that be slants over the middle, whether that be just simple go routes. Because I think one of the first topics I talked to you about on this show was if you press Nick Harbor, if you press him on the line at 6'5", 240, I don't think that's going to work out for a lot of people. So it's just like you said. I think the biggest point is getting the ball early in creative ways. Ways that people are not expecting him to get the ball. I think that's going to be key.
Indeed, man. It should be fun to watch for sure, and it'll be intriguing. It'll be a fascinating storyline going into week 1 and beyond.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'll go ahead and get off here, man. God, it's been a hot week. It's kind of cooled off a little bit. So I know everybody's thankful for that. And football's back, man. I'm so excited. Football is back. High school football starts tonight. I'm going to be cheering on my Emerald Vikings up here in Greenwood. And thank God it's Friday, man. Happy Friday, Chris.
Indeed.
I'll holler at you later. I'll holler at you. Not next week, obviously, because you're going to be in Montana country. That's whiskey drinking country up there. So stay away from the bears. Don't go hiking alone. No, that's not something I need to tell you. But I'll holler at you come game week, brother. And you stay safe out there. And thanks, Birds Up Show. Go Cox, buddy. Thanks.
Peyton, you're the man. I appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much for calling in. Great stuff from Peyton. Yeah, looking forward to talking to Peyton all season long and all of you as well. And yeah, excited for Nick Harbor, man. How can you not be? You know what I mean? He's just a physical specimen, a guy that there's been some adjustment period for sure to the college game, but very, very pumped to see what type of impact he can make as a freshman. And I mean, you never know, man. I mean, listen, if for the folks out there picking 9 or 10 wins, if South Carolina is going to do the unthinkable and let's just say go 9-3, you're going to need a guy like a Nick Harbor to break out, burst on the scene, and be a dude for you, flat out. So, going to have to happen. Will Korb, hit me up in the Discord about the hat. We'll get the hat taken care of, my guy. Let's jump to the lines.
John Edwards.
John Edward, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good, dude. Got off work a little bit ago, so I got off early and my weekend started. So it was kind of a long week, just getting through it.
Very nice. I love that.
Yeah, I want to touch on something Peyton said, but I'm actually at my apartment. I'm getting some stuff together. I'm leaving in like a few hours so long story short, my parents, they go to church in Chester, and some of them from their church are going like on this float the river thing, I think in Hendersonville. And so they asked hey, would you come watch the dog? Which I actually want to help take care of him. I'm not living there anymore.
Mhm.
So I'm like, yeah, I'll come watch him. So I thought instead of just leaving tomorrow and going out for a few hours, I'm like, why not go have pizza with them tonight and just spend the night there? And since I'm watching our dog tomorrow anyway, so that's what I'm doing later.
Sounds like a fun weekend,
That's my
man.
weekend.
Sounds like a fun start to the weekend and a fun weekend as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually got starting with the Carolina game, Carolina versus North Carolina football game. I'm going with my JV coach from high school. So that'll be fun. That'll be 2 weeks. But actually, yeah, next week I've touched on this quite a bit. So I'm glad football is back next week and everything. But if I'm going to miss a weekend of football, it'll probably good thing it's next weekend because, like I said, I'm going to be out of town seeing my younger brother and my sister-in-law. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be good. I mean, hey, week 0 is not that big of a deal, right? It's just week 0. No biggie.
Yeah, but if I'm going to miss, next weekend, so, we can, go see brother and sister-in-law. So, and then I'm going to Atlanta, which I know got back from Atlanta yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got back Wednesday. So I'm going to the game end of September. And then like a few other things. I'm going to a race in October, so things to pick up for me. Starting with the Carolina game, so but I'm really looking forward to. And fun fact about the guy I'm going with, he's like, who do I root for? He's a Clemson fan, but he's going to go with me. He's like, who am I going to root for, North Carolina or South Carolina? And I'm like, nice graphic. He's like, I don't like North Carolina or South Carolina. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to blame you if you don't root for us, because I mean, I would not expect a Clemson fan to root for us in a couple of weeks. We would do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, just root for North Carolina if you want. I'm not going to expect you to, you're going with me to have a good time. So I'm looking forward to that. And so that was a spill, but once something Peyton said, I was listening to that conversation, and he said he was on Fox Sports about Nick Carver being the number one freak in the country. Mm-hmm. And what he say, a taller Julio Jones and with a Derrick Henry body. Is that what I heard?
Yes, yeah. Julio Jones, the Derrick Henry body, yeah.
That dude, that makes total sense. I haven't even seen Nick play yet, but just looking at him, I mean, that makes total sense. Derrick Henry body and Julio, height-wise, it's just. Do you think Nick's obviously Nick's probably faster than Julio?
I would think so. I don't know exactly. I would think so. I mean, Nick Carver is one of the fastest human beings on the planet, so I would think he is. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not talking Julio like now. He's a version of himself at the NFL level, but I'm thinking that Julio coming out of college compared to coming into college for Julio when Nick's coming in. So, right. I mean, Julio was a freaking freak. I mean, Julio was on that team we beat Bama. He was on that team when we beat Alabama. But yeah, all right. I'm gonna get out of here and just chill for a little bit. But I just thought I'd get my call in since I got off early. But hey, thanks for taking my call, and you have a great time in Montana.
John Eber, you're the man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And I'll do the same in Kingstree.
Yeah, man. Do the same. Yeah, absolutely. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, brother. Take care. Great stuff from John Edward. How about John Edward taking the high road? John Edward taking the high road and not replying to BDD. How about that? BDD, did you see? I found the BDD graphic, by the way. I was struggling with that, and it looks like where did it go? There it is. We found it. Okay, so we have the BDD graphic ready to go. Love it. Absolutely love that, folks. Absolutely love that. Again, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377 here on this Friday. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Will from Dirty Myrtle.
Will, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, buddy?
Dude,
Chilling, man.
Just hanging out. Yeah, what's going on?
Just wanted to give a quick call before you went on your hiatus for a little bit. I'm sure you saw the clips yesterday of practice, and a couple questions for you. One, I mean, is it amazing or what how the ball flies out of Lenore Steller's hand? I mean, it looks like the velocity of his is just different than everybody else throwing the ball on the team. Did you notice that when you saw some of those clips?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, his arm strength definitely jumped off the page, and I mean, yeah, I'm very excited for Lenore Sellers. I mean, that's a guy that we all have high hopes for. But I mean, and then seeing Brad Crawford's tweet where he said that he got a text that it was the best practice by a freshman quarterback the guy had ever seen. So it's going to be fun this time next year, and obviously in way before that in spring as well. We have a quarterback battle. I don't think they're going to publicly say that somebody's in the lead or whatever. They'll probably let the quarterback battle go, but I think we're all expecting Lenore Sellers to take over and be that guy. So yeah, seeing that clip from practice yesterday and the touch on that ball and the arm strength, and it's exciting. It's definitely exciting, man. It's going to be fun to watch in the future.
Also, I was kind of, going through and seeing what I could see. I noticed that Nick Harbor had a little bit of hard time tracking that ball on two of the things I saw him. One, he dropped one, and the other one he didn't come back to. I think it was an underthrow. But I wonder about – I think he will be able to make an impact, and he is a freak, and I think he'd be great for us. But I wonder early if he's going to have trouble tracking balls and catching them. You know what I mean? Because he's just not that used to it. Mm-hmm. So I just wonder if that's going to be a little bit of an issue early on, if maybe they try to do some quick outs to him, little screens or something, rather than, a fly route where he's having to catch the ball 40, 50 yards down the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, definitely. I mean, we've heard the reports out of fall camp that the adjustment period, like there has been an adjustment. So, yeah, well, I mean, I think it's very fair to expect that and believe that's going to be the case. And it doesn't mean he's not going to be a great football player. It just means that early on, there could be some growing pains. I mean, I think it's unfair to expect there won't be any growing pains. I mean, this guy's a freak, yes, but he's a true freshman. Like, he's never played an SEC game. So where nobody's saying he can't make a big-time impact, but, early, I mean, he's the only way to learn and improve and get better is to get experience. And, you learn the most through failure. You know what I mean? So there might be some situations early where he drops a pass or misplays a ball or what have you. But the good thing with a guy like Nick Harbor is this. Although he's going to be learning on the go, there's probably going to be moments, there definitely will be moments that his supreme athleticism, he'll be able to get away with different things, right? Like he's going to be able to get away with things that other guys maybe can't get away with because of his supreme athleticism. So I'm excited to see it, man. But again, to your point, that's why I'm keeping realistic expectations for Nick Harbor. There are other talented, more veteran receivers on this roster. And also, I mean, I don't expect Nick Harbor to start making a really big impact until about midway through the season. Could he make it earlier? Sure. But, I'm not expecting it until we get about that midway point.
And, and I agree. And one final thought, just the years of watching all the practices and the interviews, I've done it for 20 years now and maybe longer. But a lot of times with Spurrier, there wasn't a lot of positive stuff coming out. You know how he was. He would always kind of shake the back. Then we'd come out and kick somebody's ass. Like, well, we didn't look good in practice always. This seemed like the most positive fall camp I can remember, where, especially offensively, where everybody seems like, we're making a lot of explosive plays. Rattler was real happy with the offense. Seems like everybody's real happy with the offense. And I feel kind of good about that. I have a little bit more of a, optimistic outlook, I think, on the offense after hearing everybody talking. Maybe they're just blowing smoke, but you know what I mean, though? Recently, in recent history, there hadn't been a lot of super positive stuff coming out about the offense. It was always a work in progress. You know what I mean? Doesn't it seem like there's a little bit more of a positivity vibe this time?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, for sure. I mean, they are saying all the right things, Will, when it comes to the offense. Everything you would hope that you'd hope they'd say, they are saying it. So I would agree with you. I think it's a positive vibe. I think that, and that goes back to Shane Beamer and the culture he's built. But, I mentioned this going into last year too, and I'll echo it again. Although there's a bunch of question marks, there are real football reasons to be excited about this team. So, we'll see how it all comes together. But, yeah, I mean, certainly the energy coming out of fall camp is very positive right now, Will, and you hope that obviously continues in the kickoff and beyond.
Yeah, for sure, man. And enjoy your trip, be safe, and can't wait to talk to you on game week, man. It's upon us finally. So hopefully we can get to it and then have us a good year this year, man. Go Cox.
Yeah, man. Can't wait, Will. Hey, I appreciate you, man. Always a pleasure. We'll talk soon. Will from Dirty Myrtle. Always a good time talking to Will. Guys, we're going to jump into one final break. On the other side, though, we will close out the show in style here on this Friday. You're tuned in to The Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also sponsored by Rhine Law Firm, LLC, principally managed by James R. Rhine Jr., located at 1350 Ashley River Road, Suite 650, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407, serving the greater Charleston area.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, folks, we're back. Final 7 minutes or so here on the Daily Crow, taking your questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. I want to stop and say this, too. As we officially put a pin in the offseason, we close out the preseason, right? Because no TDC next week. Podcast will drop. The next time you and I speak, the offseason's over. We're into game week. We're talking games. We're talking predictions. We're breaking down key matchups, keys to game, all of the content that comes with it. We are officially in game week. The offseason behind us. I do want to take a moment to say thank you to each and every single one of you, because I know that at times, right, talking season, it gets very tedious. It gets very long. At times, it feels like it'll never end, and you get bombarded with content and so many previews and so many predictions and what have you. And you guys continue to tune in day after day after day and show love and run up the numbers and show support. And, I just want to say thank you guys, because you guys make the offseason bearable for me, right? Without you all, I can't even imagine starting at 100 days of kickoff and having to sit through that over, every single day, just wishing it were the season. So having you all there as the audience to engage with and interact with and talk ball with, and it's a blessing. It's a blast, truly, guys. I appreciate each and every single one of you. From, I look back at the offseason. I know I spoke on it earlier in that first hour, but, you look back on the SEC team previews we did, right? That feels like forever ago. We were doing those in June. The SEC team previews to the opponent previews to SEC media days. Obviously, that was incredible. Position unit previews, all of our predictions, predicted order of finish, South Carolina game-by-game predictions, and now we're here. We made it, man. It feels good. It feels good to say that. So excited to start talking South Carolina, North Carolina, and, getting everything. Like I said, I was actually sitting there this morning planning what game week content is going to look like. It's going to be very reactive, obviously, to what's happening, the storylines, things we want to discuss, what have you. But I'm so excited for the content. Like we are in a position going into this season. The content has never been better. The content absolutely has never been better. And I cannot wait for it. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to be talking more SEC content than we ever have. There's going to be more gambling content than there's ever been. And, of course, talking all things Gamecocks all the time. It's just what we're doing on game day, the call-in shows, creating content from the studio. Like, guys, I am truly giddy for the 2023 season. And it's a blessing that, year after year, first season in this studio, it's a blessing that year after year, I find myself saying, this is going to be our best season yet. This is going to be our best season yet. But it's a testament to the work that we've put in. It's a testament to you all continuing to show love and support. And guys, TSUS would not be what it is and what it's becoming. And I say that because I mean it, truly. I say that because I mean it. And I'm so grateful for where we are, where we're going. And, happy that I get to cut off a week of the off season, if you will. But, by going out of town, but looking forward to, really taking some time to detach, to reset, to take a deep breath, and come back better than ever, and come back fresh, and come back ready to dive into it and get after it in the 2023 season, man. I cannot freaking wait. Cannot freaking wait to talk actual games on the field of play, react to things that we're seeing on the field. Cannot wait, man, because we got lots of question marks. It was a long off season, but finally we put a pin in it. So really great stuff, man. Really great stuff. And of course, you guys know next week, again, no TDC, but the podcast is going to drop every single day. We have fantastic interviews for you guys. Since there's no TDC, the podcast will drop every day at 5 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. So all my morning commuters, you'll get the podcast, and all throughout the day, you can go back, you can listen to it. All you folks out there that listen after work at 5 p.m., it'll be there waiting for you just the same. And of course, I'm never totally off the grid. So we'll still be on social media here and there. We got some graphics lined up, including like my college football playoff predictions, my national champion prediction, some different lists here and there to keep folks engaged and keep the convo going during the week. But really looking forward to some R&R, detaching a bit, seeing some sights, taking in nature, if you will, and hitting sort of that refresh button and getting ready for the 2023 season. And John, I know that Montana doesn't have service, but we will be at the house and there will be enough, John. But I'm looking I'm looking forward to the detachment part, and taking some time away from the phone, if you will, because John, surely I'll be on it nonstop, 24/7 once we get back and we get into game week. Guys, that's going to do it, man. The off season's over. Put a pin in it. The season is here. Congratulations, folks. We made it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that bell icon so you get notifications when we drop new video content when we go live as well. And of course, the podcast at the Spurs Up Show, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can check us out there. Guys, thank you all so much. Appreciate you all tuning in. The next time we speak on these airwaves, it'll be game week. Cannot wait for that, guys. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you all tuning in. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you very soon.